Harshit has returned with another request. After being gone for about a week, it's like the community hand-delivered him to me as an act of providence. And if you recognize that reference I just made, you earn yourself 10 good boy coins. But stupidity aside, this is for an unmarked grave and the rhyme of the ancient bargeman. These were of course both requested by Harshit in the comments of the last video, since I took that ability away from him last time. And as I always say, no matter even if I do bar him from doing it sometimes to let other people have a chance in the comments below, his requests are always fire. So as per usual, I'm very excited to get into these and hear what these have to offer. So without further ado, let's go. We got a glass instrument. Is this just straight up like wine glasses being played around the rim? Maybe. It could be a water harp, I suppose. They've done it before. It's giving Zelda, like Twilight Princess era Legend of Zelda. A little bit of Kingdom Hearts in there too, like Dearly Beloved. It's leaving a lot of room to breathe. They're not muddying this song up at all. That's the end, isn't it? Man, I just need to lay in a very dim room. I need to be in like a sensory deprivation chamber listening to that on loop for like an hour or two, and I will come out as a new man. So I'm sure I'm not the only one that made the connection of Dearly Beloved in that song, because it does something that Dearly Beloved does, which is utilizing the keyboard and the echo of the notes and playing that echo in order to reinstate something that you've already been told. It's a sensation that feels very reflective, and when you actually play it as an echo, like natively, instead of adding an echo afterwards, like there's reverb in this song, plenty of reverb, but having like a legitimate like doubling of the note where you hit it the first time and the second time just slightly quieter, it's a very nice effect in order to add that sort of sensation in the mind where you're just like, wait, where's it going? It's kind of like a longing sensation, and it's something that composers have used for obviously decades, hundreds of years probably, to do that sort of thing, to make that feeling of longing and desire. Something is lost, there's an emptiness, and you need to fill it with something. So in order to compose that and make the song reflect that feeling, you add it back in, sometimes literally like this. And this is a beautiful writing for that. Like, of course, doing things like that, especially ones like Dearly Beloved that are so popular and so well known, that it's like, okay, you're gonna make those connections and it's gonna sound samey, but at the same time, this isn't the same song, and it definitely differentiates itself, especially doing something more creative like having that glass effect in there. I'm not entirely sure what instrument that is. There was no credit as to who the player was, so I didn't get to see what that was, but it sounded very glass-like, so I'm assuming it was straight up like a wine rim sort of play, and that resonates very well. It blends in with that reverb that the piano's hitting, and everything is just so beautiful. It's like, this is a song where all of the energy is laid out in front of you, and that's why they do that echo effect of having things played twice, because they want that to resonate and just ring out really hard in the reverb and just let it kind of decay naturally way in the distance. Like, as this song goes on, on, as more gets played, this song is kind of just naturally disappearing way off in the distance. There's nothing else stopping it. You still get the feeling of all the textures in there, like the piano pedals in there. You could still hear those. There was just enough of that like random percussive texture from the instruments that were being played that it was also feeling like you're in such a big empty space. I would not be surprised if this was recorded in like a cathedral, like an actual chamber of some sort, because it had such a characteristic sort of sound to it. But it could have just been a really good engineer knowing exactly what they're doing to replicate that sound in a studio. Either way though, this entire song was written to balance itself as it goes, and as it gets further away, everything still works. Nothing gets dissonant, nothing feels like it's crunching against each other. All these notes were super harmonious, and even as you listen to that reverb and you're hearing things ring out way in the distance, like measures after they've already been played, you're still not hearing any dissonant chords, any crunch, any notes that just don't work, because every note is naturally working with each other throughout this whole piece. There's nothing in here that would be a minor to a major or anything else like that that would make it feel a little bit more disgusting. It's basically sticking perfectly to the key, and it's a beautiful, beautiful sound. And I see why this is named For an Unmarked Grave, because this is kind of the essence that you feel in your mind when you think of an unmarked grave. Something that has been left alone, that has been forgotten to time, pretty much neglected, basically its entire existence. Somebody's here, but we don't know who, what their story is, stuff like that. Or even if it is a marked grave, sometimes those memories just fade off in the distance and you just do not remember, and there's no record of that person. So having something like this attached to a name like that makes it feel that much more grand as far as the intent of the song. It feels much more solemn, and it just kind of brings it to a gritty realism in a way that's just truly profoundly sad, that helps the energy of the song reflect even more. Like, for example, the next time you go and visit a loved one's grave, if any of you do that, play this song actively, like have a single earbud in or something, and play this while you're standing there. If you go there alone, even more so, but even if you're there with family and you're hearing this off even softly in the background, it will definitely have a profound emotional impact on you, and you might find yourself crying for the first time in years. It's a song that is perfectly written to pull those emotions from you, and sometimes people just need a good cry. So if there's somebody you're trying to remember, like in those situations, maybe play a song like this and let your emotions truly just bleed out, because that is very healthy to do. And this song, in my opinion, is written in the best way to help pull that from you. So beautiful song here. And while I'm definitely getting very introspective and personal on this one, I'm not sure what the next song is going to have in store. I'm not sure if it's going to be of a similar energy at all, but I'm going to listen to it with a completely fresh ear, so I'm not going to have any of that emotional carryover. So don't be jarred when I cut to the next song and I don't look like I just listened to this one and have been talking about it so sadly, because I like to keep my brain fresh when I listen to stuff like this that might not be of the same vein. So just don't be jarred by that cutaway. So let's get to the next song, shall we? I was told to listen to this one with subtitles, so I did not miss that detail. We're getting some beautiful traditional music. Hell yeah. Beautiful voice. It's got such a great power to it. Ooh. Ooh, the drums. What a good pace to that rhythm. Gorgeous. The flute. Man, you'll never, ever catch me hating this genre. I love this sound so much. I talk about it all the time, but... Ooh. Ooh. Getting a little fancy with the flute. Okay. Changing things up a little bit. absolutely gorgeous melody line. Ooh, that was an interesting choice. Really interesting note. That had like a dissonant, just the one note. That was weird, but it sounded so cool. So these two are actually more similar than I thought they would be, but they're peaceful in completely unique ways. The first thing I do want to talk about is the vocalist in this one. I said she has a great power. I mean that entirely with my chest. A beautiful tone. It's very cutting. It might be too sharp for some people, but that is a traditional way to sing. Going out through the nasal chamber and having a lot more resonance in the head is pretty common in Chinese traditional vocals, and it's just so beautiful. A lot of Chinese opera does that as well. A lot of you would probably be very familiar with that if you're familiar with other songs from Genshin, one of which I've cried to. Oops, but you know, sometimes things just hit you, and like I said in the last section, you need to let that stuff flow sometimes. And man, this song just, it hits a completely different tone of peace that the prior one did. The other was a lot more solemn and a lot more somber. It had a lot more of a sad energy to it for obvious reasons. This one just felt like a giant love letter to the area. It felt so gorgeous. Everything about it was like, here's the peace that you've been looking for. Come sit down, have a cup of tea, and just breathe. You know, just take a deep breath in the mountains and just truly feel the landscape that you're in. And I can't help but love that sentiment. Just really having a moment to breathe, kind of forget about the bad for a minute and just enjoy life. I'm not like a woo-woo person. I don't really get into stuff that is super naturalistic and everything. I respect it just like I do anything else, but at the same time, it's songs like this that make me go, you know what I could use? A vacation in the mountains and just some time alone, you know, just letting nature exist around me without all the crap I have to deal with on a daily basis. It's songs like this that make me really want to go to China and just sit and just exist in the countryside. I would love to someday go and see the countryside of China, but we'll see how things go in the future for myself. I've talked about traditional instruments and my love of them in many a video before, so a lot of you who are returning viewers are probably very familiar with me talking about those and my enjoyment of them, so I won't like do too much of that here, but man, I love it. It's so pretty. Everything about the blend of these instruments, everything just resonates so well with each other. There's never a moment in this type of music that feels like there is a problem happening. It just feels so gorgeous. Obviously, there have been songs written that allow for that. Of course, you have to write for different scenarios when you're writing music, and some are like reflective of war or other disappointing times. But sometimes, and most of the time, for traditional music that I've heard, has been very peaceful like this, and it's just so nice to listen to. But then there was even that moment in this song right at the end where she did hit a note that was like, whoa, that's a little bit different compared to the rest of the song. It doesn't follow the same general scale, not exactly directly at least, and it's surprising that the melody line followed it and just kind of brought it down there. And that's what I think is kind of interesting about it, because it's not even like a wrong note, but at the same time it just hits this scale a little bit odd, so it makes you kind of just like raise an ear to it, like, wait, what's happening? What might be happening in this countryside? What's on the horizon, maybe, that might not be so positive, and what am I going to fight for to keep this happiness here? This peace is something I want to keep intact. And just by hearing that one note, that's the feeling I got out of it. But man, what a beautiful track. Both of these, gorgeous in all their own rights, completely different ways, like I said earlier. And man, this put me in a very zen mood. I'm about to go to work and just kind of sit there for a couple hours, and I'm going to have these like on loop in my headphones while I'm doing my job, and I'm just going to wish that I could exist in this world for a few minutes, but I'll digress there. Thank you all so very much for watching. If you have any other requests you want me to get to, even if it is Harsh Shit Again, it probably will be, then by all means, leave them in the comments below and I will do my best to get to them as always. And of course, if you like this video and you want to follow me and support me for more stuff in the future, you know how to do all that, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye!